All right, let's dive right into this explainer and decode the absolute ultimate tool for conquering cross-functional project chaos. I mean, if you're managing multiple teams, balancing super tight resources, or really just trying to get a massive initiative across the finish line without totally losing your mind, you are definitely in the right place. Because, let's be real, we've all felt that sudden panic, right? One team misses a critical Friday deadline, and suddenly, boom, three other teams are completely stalled come Monday morning. It's the classic domino effect of project management. But today, we're looking at the visual roadmap specifically designed to prevent exactly that scenario from ever playing out on your watch. So, what are we talking about? The Gantt chart. At its core, this thing is indispensable for aligning diverse teams. By translating all those complex, overlapping schedules into a clean visual format, it lets everyone, from your ground-level contributors to high-level stakeholders, monitor project schedules and resource allocation at a single glance. It literally transforms a messy spreadsheet of dates into a clear, compelling narrative of exactly what needs to happen and when. And here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll decode the Gantt chart itself. Second, a little tale of two engineers. Third, we'll look at the anatomy of a timeline. Fourth, mastering your project chaos. And finally, we'll wrap up with common pitfalls and modern tools. Okay, moving right into Section 1, Decoding the Gantt chart, your ultimate visual roadmap. Let's start by unpacking exactly what this tool tracks and why it's become so incredibly vital for project managers in both traditional waterfall and dynamic agile environments. The sheer scalability of a Gantt chart is just wild. Whether you're launching a new software product or literally constructing a skyscraper, this single view gives us a high-level overview of the whole shebang. We aren't just looking at a simple list of activities and schedules, no. We're tracking task dependencies, hitting significant milestones, monitoring real-time progress, and managing resource allocation all in one centralized hub. It tells you exactly who owns a task, when it's due, and maybe most importantly, who is sitting around waiting on it to finish. Which brings us to Section 2, a tale of two engineers and the surprising history behind this tool. Now, you might think you know exactly who invented the Gantt chart based entirely on the name, but history actually has a pretty surprising twist for us. So the crucial point here is that a Polish engineer named Karol Adamiecki actually created this concept first. We're talking mid-1890s, trying to optimize workflows in industrial steel mills. He called it a harmonogram. But because he published his findings in Polish and Russian, his incredible work was largely unknown outside of Eastern Europe. Fast forward about 15 years to around 1910, and an American engineer named Henry Gantt independently devises a very similar visual chart. And because Henry Gantt published his work in the West, his name became forever synonymous with the tool. Honestly, it's highly ironic, isn't it? A tool that was fundamentally built to optimize workflow and communication was actually stalled in its own global rollout because of an information bottleneck. History ultimately favored the communicator, but we really owe a huge nod to both of these brilliant engineers. Okay, on to Section 3, Anatomy of a Timeline, and how we actually build the chart. Let's deconstruct this piece by piece in our minds, just so you can see exactly how it functions on a really granular level. The visual core of your project is the horizontal bar. Instead of squinting at dates on a calendar, every single task is displayed as one of these bars. The brilliant part is the spatial representation of time here. The length of the bar directly corresponds to how much time that activity will consume, while its position on the grid perfectly reflects its start and end dates. It just makes time consumption instantly, intuitively obvious to the human eye. Then you have milestones. Often represented as little diamond shapes on these charts, milestones don't actually consume time. They're special points marked on the chart to signify key events like a massive project kickoff, a final design approval, or the completion of critical deliverables. Think of milestones as the major checkpoints on your project roadmap. They're there to ensure you're hitting your broader strategic goals right on time. Now, earlier I mentioned the whole domino effect, right? Well, this is exactly where it comes in. Dependencies are literally like falling dominoes in your project. A finish-to-start dependency means task B physically cannot begin until task A completely ends. Think of it like pouring a foundation before you can build the walls. On the flip side, start-to-start means both tasks can kick off simultaneously, running in parallel to save you massive amounts of time. And this perfectly illustrates how the whole picture finally comes together. You have a customizable timescale across the top, which you can break down into hours for a rapid sprint or stretch out into months for a multi-year build. You overlay your progress tracking, often by shading the bars to show percentage completion. And then you link it all together with arrows representing those task dependencies we just talked about.
You can literally anticipate bottlenecks before they happen just by tracing these arrows across the timeline. It's a real game changer.
Let's pivot to Section 4, Master Your Project Chaos, and look at some real-world applications. So why does all this matter to you when you sit down at your desk tomorrow morning to face down a chaotic project? Well, the advantages here represent a massive shift in how you work. Whether you're coordinating a dozen developers across 3 different time zones, or you're presenting high-level risk management updates to your executive board, this structure provides a disciplined, single source of truth. It offers improved visibility, meaning literally no one is left in the dark. It enhances collaboration because task ownership is explicitly clear. And the real-time tracking means that when changes inevitably happen, because they always do, you can adapt your entire strategy instantly, making progress reporting an absolute breeze.
Finally, Section 5, Pitfalls in Modern Tools, or How We Solve the Inevitable Challenges. Of course, no tool is absolutely perfect, right? Back in the day, manually drawing and erasing these complex charts by hand made them totally impractical for dynamic, fast-changing projects. But thankfully, modern project management software has largely solved those historical headaches. When a large project gets way too complex, modern solutions let you filter, zoom, and collapse task groups so you aren't just completely overwhelmed. Where it used to be wildly time-intensive to maintain, software now automates the updates. And if you find your team is overemphasizing strict timelines at the expense of day-to-day workflow, the absolute best practice is to combine your Gantt chart with Agile boards for a truly holistic approach. We are just incredibly lucky to live in an era where software does the heavy lifting for us. By leveraging widely used tools like Jira with its Agile-focused plugins, or Asana, which is known for beautifully designed cross-functional timelines, or maybe you're utilizing the sheer comprehensive power of Microsoft Project, or that familiar grid-to-Gantt magic of Smartsheet. Whatever you use, teams can now utilize automated dependencies and real-time resource tracking absolutely effortlessly. Honestly, if Carl Adamiecki could see how his hand-drawn harmonogram evolved into cloud-based software tracking global teams in real time, he would be absolutely astounded. But it brings up a really fascinating point. As software increasingly handles the automatic shifting of our dependencies and timelines, taking all that busy work right off our plates, what becomes the true value of the human project manager? Is it emotional intelligence? Is it strategic foresight? I'm going to leave you with that thought to ponder as you log off and begin planning your next major cross-functional endeavor.